How you going, people? Okay, so this is I think in Corona, California, um, a deadly Costco shooting. Now, there's not a lot of video footage of it yet, and the cops haven't released it. So this is a new incident. I know somebody's going to come here freaking a year from now. Did you watch the video, idiot? You don't know what you're talking about. You're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going by what's being reported, and I'm trying to critically think and fill in the blanks. So if you don't like it, wait for 2 years till all the video's out and then go watch it. But let's get back to this. Authorities are pouring over video of the confrontation. So the officer opened fire on Kenneth French. Kenneth French is now being described as a mentally ill patient who can't talk and who is a gentle giant. Gee, never heard that before. So the family's all upset, saying it wasn't his fault. They weren't there. When a cop shot Mr. French, who was 32, he also shot his parents who was with him, a male and female. They're both still in a hospital. I think he fired 6 or 7 shots. It's still unclear. And he was in Costco shopping, and he had a small child. So they're not saying how old his child was. That kind of makes an important factor here, because if a parent's holding a child and they feel threatened or attacked, and he's an officer, the factors that are going to come in here is, did he tell him he was an officer? Did he tell him he was armed? Did he shoot an unarmed man? Was the man armed? The guy is pretty freaking big. Here's a picture of him. So this guy isn't, they call him a gentle giant. He's a pretty big boy. And I don't know if this guy can talk. I don't know if he's a gentle giant. That's why it comes down to behavior. What was he doing? My guess is the parents tried to enable or help or protect their son, and that's how they end up getting shot. But they didn't help or protect the guy who had his daughter or his child in his hands and was defending his child. So let's go back to the article here. So according to the officer, French attacked him without provocation. Has the officer held his young child? We don't know how young. If the child couldn't stand on his own and was an infant, the threat's even greater. I think any child that he has in his hands, there is a reaction that, look, if this guy attacks me and he knocks me out, I've got a gun. He could take my gun. He could use it against my child. He could kick my child or hit me. If the guy is acting mentally ill or not, I know everybody wants to think that just because you're mentally ill, suddenly you should get a pass for violent behavior. Somehow, if a mentally ill patient comes up and attacks you and hits you and beats you, you're supposed to go, it's all right, he's just mentally ill, it's not his fault. That doesn't matter. What matters is, was the officer's actions reasonable when he had a small child in his hand or a young child and he was attacked? Now, what was the attack? Was he punched? Was he knocked to the ground? Did he attempt to grab? Was the guy trying to grab his kid? Did he know what the guy was doing? Was there an exchange in conversation between the officer and the suspect? Were the parents there that said, hey, he's mentally ill? What did the footage say? Did the guy have a weapon? Did he pick up a big T-bone steak? A T-bone steak is a great stabbing instrument. Obviously, before it's cooked, it's got a lot of meat on it. But I can still stab you and do a lot of damage with a T-bone steak. Did the guy have something that could be perceived or used as a weapon? He was much bigger. How big was the officer? Was the officer small? Even if the officer wasn't small, his child was small and he was in his arms. So any action that he took is going to be looked at more favorable or more under an umbrella of protection as reasonable, because he couldn't abandon his small child and defend himself against a larger male that was attacking him, according to him, for no reason. So these are all the things that are going to come out in the investigation, or should come out. Authorities did not respond to requests or release the names of the officer who was wounded. The officer did go to the hospital, but he was released with minor injuries. What was his injuries? Was it scuffed? Did he have a black eye? Did he have a broken nose? Was he bleeding? His child was not hurt. Now, everybody kind of thinks that seems to be a big deciding factor here. Since his child wasn't hurt, he shouldn't have shot the guy. Maybe because he shot the guy is why his child wasn't hurt. Also, in one of the video, they're interviewing a couple people, and they're like, oh, he shouldn't have a gun in Costco. That's crazy. You know what? If you think that's crazy in America, then you should go to another country. Maybe you shouldn't come to America and want us to have the same crazy laws in your state. Because the guy who said this was obviously Mexican, Hispanic, whatever. And I guarantee you, You probably can't have a gun in Costco down in Mexico. Guess what? People are getting shot everywhere where they're not supposed to have a gun. Because when you take guns away from good people, you empower bad people who have guns. At least when good people have guns, bad people have to take that chance that they may run across a guy with a gun that can fight back. When you take away guns from good people, now all crooks have to do is say, hey, all I got to worry about is incompetent government that's never here. They're always late, and they always show up after the fact. So what do I have to worry about? Gun control never stops or lowers crime. It never protects anybody except the government and bad guys, because bad guys already have guns illegally. But anyway, Gentle Giant, he had mental disabilities. French was non-violent, non-aggressive, and non-verbal. Really? We have no video footage and nobody got a witness that said this. These are from family who are posting stuff on Facebook describing the Gentle Giant. And of course, they're getting a lawyer. Let's see. French's parents were also shot. They're in intensive care. The family's seeking an attorney. Of course they are. Let's see here. This woman's crying. She's posting a picture because everybody's making them look. That picture makes them look like a nice little family. It doesn't show what he was wearing that night. Was he wearing gang colors? Does he have gang tattoos? Was he throwing signs? Was he talking gangster talk to the cop? Did he know the cop? Did this cop arrest him before? Did this cop deal with him? Did he know this guy was a cop and he hated cops? I mean, there's so much that we don't know, and everybody's already jumping in that the shooting was unjustified. But the chief didn't say where they were going to put him on there. Joseph. All right, this is great. Joseph Capone, G. Capone, a professor. Well, right there it tells me he's a liberal left loon. A professor at John Jay College, criminal justice, and a retired New York City. He's from New York City. Tells me he's a damn liberal. Said it was justified to use deadly force even in a crowded store if the attacker has a weapon. This guy's a freaking idiot. There is no way that no law says that. He made this shit up to sound like he knew what the hell he was talking about, and it's total crap. Deadly force is either authorized or it is not. It has nothing to do whether you're in Costco, in a crowded area, in an alone area, whether or not there was a weapon or not. It has to do with the reasonable belief that you thought your life or someone else's life was in jeopardy of serious bodily injury and or death. So that's what matters. Has no case law in the world, no court has ever ruled deadly force is only authorized if it's crowded, if the guy has a weapon. If it's not crowded, he doesn't need a weapon. But if it is crowded, he needs a weapon. What a freaking idiot. If the guy pulled out a pocket knife and approached him, game over. Yeah, no kidding. Because then he's armed with a deadly weapon. Of course it's game over. But it has nothing to do with whether or not he's in a crowded store. Oh, man. I read this and I went, who the hell is this? Where'd they hire him at? Freaking Sesame Street? All right, police said they have not said if French had any weapons or if he identified as himself as a police officer. Video footage from Costco camera and shoppers' cell phones will be critical. No kidding. Obviously, any video evidence is always critical. Who is this dude? Freaking Dr. Obvious? All right, while it's unusual for police to delay release, all right, whatever. Let me look at one of the footage where they get the poor victims, people that didn't witness anything, giving their opinion.
Officer started shooting. I was really shocked.
A community stunned after a man and his parents were shot inside a Corona Costco with an off-duty LAPD officer pulling the trigger.
NBC4's Kim Tobin has been talking with family and neighbors of the man who was killed. She joined us live from LAPD headquarters with more. Kim.
And Jonathan and Kathy, family members described the man killed, Kenneth French, as mentally disabled and a kind and gentle man.
Oh, they describe him as a kind and gentle man, Rick. How could he possibly be shot by the mean police officer who was holding a child that was attacked? Okay.
They say they don't know exactly what happened inside the Costco store that night, but they believe this deadly confrontation could have been handled differently.
They don't have a clue what happened, and they follow up, but I believe it could have been handled differently. How does a news media even get any credibility whatsoever? You have zero information, and yet you come to the conclusion that it could have been handled better. Wow.
A photo shared by family shows Kenneth French with his parents, Russell and Paula French. Loved ones and neighbors in their quiet
look, they have a
Riverside
nice
community
an American
saying
flag.
they can't believe Kenneth is now gone.
God rest his soul. Yeah, I'm shocked.
Shocked.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
that's horrible.
And it's so close to home, you know. I feel bad because
Everybody feels
the whole
bad.
family's
Aw.
affected.
A cousin who didn't want
I
to
feel
speak
so
on
bad. We should pass more laws to make me feel better. I feel bad, so let's pass more gun control. Let's take away guns from people. Let's take away guns from off-duty police officers. Let's take away guns from government. No law ever takes away guns from government, you idiots out there. I feel bad, Rick. I feel like I need to.
camera tells us Kenneth suffered from a mental condition and was nonverbal, and his parents were his supervisors. Many neighbors didn't know him well, but usually saw him outside walking.
The guy is really not talkative, okay? He's very quiet.
On Friday night, inside this Costco, Corona police say
Everybody knows him, but he's not talkative and nobody really knows him that well. Good grief, I feel like I'm watching a bizarro newscaster where they just contradict themselves left and right.
Kenneth assaulted an off-duty police officer in an unprovoked attack. The LAPD officer, who was holding his young child, shot and killed Kenneth. Family confirms Russell and Paula were struck at least once each and are still in critical condition.
Why take your gun and start shooting?
Especially in Costco, for God's sake.
Oh, for God's sake, we can't have guns in Costco. We don't have that in my country. Nobody has a gun in Costco. Crazy Americans. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
This is really, really outrageous. You know, I think something has to happen because why? I mean, God.
Police say the officer was treated and released for minor injuries, and his gun was the only weapon found at the scene. Loved ones say they can't imagine what could have led to a confrontation since Kenneth is nonverbal, and they're looking for answers as they mourn his loss.
So tough, so tragic because somebody's gone for what we don't even
It's
know.
so tragic, somebody's gone. What if he would have stabbed the child and the police officer? How would her opinion change? Oh, Rick, it's so tragic, somebody's gone. Let's just all cry about tragic instead of saying, you know what? Maybe this cop had justification. Maybe this guy attacked him. Maybe you shouldn't attack a father holding a child when he's armed. Gee, we can't get that message out. Rick, that might get these crazy people thinking that guns are good. Unbelievable. And of course, shoot, you know, the gospel of news, CNN, who never lies, said, from my understanding, some people we talked to, there is an apparent argument inside. Some type of argument ensued into a gunshot. Well, then if there was an argument, you can't argue with a dude that can't talk. Somebody had to be arguing back. Well, is the new narrative that the cop was arguing with himself? Who believes this? Let me get all the liberals to raise their hand because they need to raise their hand because they'll be voting for other stupid shit. Let's vote for this. All right, all you liberals. Who believes this cop with his small child in his arms picked the biggest dude in the store, walked up to him because he just was upset at the meat prices, got into an argument with a dude that was bigger than him with his child in there just so he could pull out his gun and shoot him? Who believes that's the narrative that the media is sending? Who believes that? Freaking liberals, screw it. You mess up a damn wet dream. All right, we'll end that there.